今日のエピソードでは英語圏である西欧諸国における特定の社会的状況についての重要なソーシャルイングリッシュのヒントをお教えします。アメリカ、カナダ、イギリス、その他の英語圏の国で実際に使えるように英会話のスキルアップに焦点を当てた社会的状況に関する大事なヒントを聞きながら学んでいきます。
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Social English Podcast. I'm glad you could join me today. My name is Percy, and I've been doing this podcast for the last year. So there's over 160 episodes that you can find on your favorite podcast player. But today's episode, I want to talk to you about the continuance of the Ford method, part 1.Well, part 2, really. Let's get started.
英語を学ぶとき、学ぶべき重要なスキルの一つは、良い会話をする方法です。今日のエピソードでは、ネイティブアメリカンの英語を話す人の視点から、英会話のトピックをお教えします。友達になりたい英語を母国語とする人と、有効的な会話をするために使用できる現在のトピックを学びます。これがソーシャルイングリッシュの本質です。さあ、始めましょう。
Okay, so today's episode is for people who are learning and studying English, and they got to a point where they can start having conversations. Now that you can have conversations, you're probably about medium level or intermediate level of English. So what do you do now? Now, how do you create connections and great conversations with people? Well, you do that by using what I'm going to teach you today, which is the Ford method. Now remember, you should be at least a medium skill level. If you can have short conversations, you can start to understand the Ford method. But if you have had English through junior high school, college, and you can have conversations, you will really enjoy this method. So, if you didn't get a chance to watch the last episode, please watch part 1, which is the introduction to the Ford method, when to use it, and why you should use it, and how it will help you. Okay, so let's get started with today's first part of the Ford acronym, which is F. So F, let's start with F today. Now remember, like I said before in the first episode, the Ford method is not to be used with your boss or just someone you do not want to learn more about and have a good, strong connection and conversation with. You want to use the Ford method when you want to talk to someone that you are trying to really make a connection to. A friend, maybe better friends, best friends, and something like that. Maybe even more. So the more, it's a quick way to learn about someone and for them to learn about you. And when you ask these questions and when you talk to them using this method, they will understand that you are trying to make a strong friendship or connection with them, okay? So there's just a way you should do this. One of the key things that a lot of Japanese or people that are learning English tend to do is they sometimes use their cultural questioning, and if you stick to the Ford method, you will not have these strange conversations that native English speakers find kind of strange. So just stick to this forward method and you will be great. So now that we've gone through all of that, F is for family. So this is a very pleasant, easy way to ask someone about themselves by asking about their family. So how do you do this? How do you ask about their family? Well, let's talk about it. There are a few ways to ask about someone's family in a conversation. With the right timing, you can ask the direct question. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Do you have a large family? Something like this. This is a way that beginners use this question without knowing they are using part of the forward method. But the better way is to make a statement first, then ask the question. You should try this. I've got one sister, only one. How about you? Do you have any brothers or sisters? Last weekend, I went to my brother's house for dinner. That reminds me, do you have any brothers or sisters? Here's the last way. So, quick review. First, there's just the question. Second, there's the statement first, then a question. And this third is what I'm going to call my social English version, a little bit more social. So listen to the difference. I've got one brother that really likes football, and I've got one sister that hates sports. Are your brothers and sisters similar, or are they different? Wow, my sister is so active and crazy. She likes to go surfing, hiking, rock climbing, all kinds of outdoor activities. Is your sister like that? As you can see, with those examples of my statement question social version, it's a little bit more interesting and will get the person that you're talking to open up more and really want to answer those questions. So that is a better way to introduce the question or the topic of someone's family, and you're introducing your family members too. The reason is because it is a more natural flow of English, and it's very clear, and it's a really conversational way of speaking to someone, especially the way we speak with native English. So there's a little bit more story or background story information before you ask the question. Remember, your goal is to sound as social as possible. You really want to get as social as possible to have those really natural sounding conversations. And remember, this will allow the person to feel like you are really trying to understand them. But this is just the first step. This is just the F, the beginning for family. We've got a couple of more things to cover.
この章を気に入っていただけたら、5つ星のレビューをぜひお願いします。コメントは英語か日本語でお書きいただければ喜んで読ませていただきます。リアルソーシャルイングリッシュ .com にアクセスしてぜひ無料でダウンロードしてください。ほとんどの日本人の英語を勉強している人がやってしまいがちな7つの間違いとその正しい言い方。また、毎日英語を上達させるのに役立つ資料もたくさんあります。Apple Podcast、 Google ポッドキャスト、Stitcher、そして今はパンドラでもポッドキャストを購読いただけます。支援者になっていただけませんか？私たちがこのショーを作るための支援として$5の寄付をお願いできませんか？今後のエピソードで感謝の気持ちをお伝えします。また、そこでしか利用できない新しいコンテンツも入手できます。patreon.com/socialenglish からご参加ください。ソーシャルメディアで私たちのポッドキャストを友達にシェアしたり、Twitter、Facebook、Instagram のフォローをお願いします。
So that's it for today's episode of the Social English Podcast. I have an action item for you today. I want you to do 3 things. I want you to come up with a question version of the F in the forward method. Then I want you to come up with a statement question and a statement question social. 3 versions of asking about someone's family. I want you to try to practice that with a friend, or if you're lucky, someone you know that speaks English. Okay, now, also, if you didn't get a chance, go back and listen to the last episode of this new YouTube and podcast series. Well, the podcast is ongoing. Go down in the description below where you can click on and quickly listen to this whole podcast series, as well as more topics from the Social English Podcast on your favorite device. Well, that's all for today's episode. See you next time. Peace and love.
今日は楽しい時間をありがとうございました。ぜひ私たちのウェブサイト realsocialenglish.com を訪問して日本語訳と役立つ情報を手に入れてください。また次回お会いしましょう。バイバイ。See you next time. Bye bye.